there was a one championship event that we don't usually on the show cover anything outside of the UFC.
One also doesn't make it easy where they're like, we're on Beijing time or like wherever. And it's like the prelims start at like 5 a.m. And it's not easy to watch, but it's so good.
I've never watched it live. But I will say there is it's almost this weird exception to everything that makes sense in MMA is Demetrious Johnson being over at one.
Yeah.
He is, in many people's opinions, including Joe Rogan's opinion, the GOAT, the all-time best. They says the best he's ever seen in pound for pound in MMA. He is a part of the only trade in UFC history. I don't know if other organizations have done trades before.
They invented it for him.
They invented it, and it's the dumbest trade ever. I mean, like no disrespect to Ben Askren. I like Ben Askren a lot. I think he had a very good career.
He was great for Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, well, that's for sure true. And like
that trade essentially was to build up Jorge Masvidal. What it turned into?
It's what it turned into for sure. Now, but I like Ben Askren, the guy. I like a lot of things about him.
I forgot he's a libertarian guy.
Well, he is. He's like a Bitcoin guy. He's a libertarian guy. I like him, okay? I'm pro Ben Askren. However, the idea that this guy who was... Now, and you can also make the argument he didn't move tickets and he didn't move pay-per-view sales.
Dana was never happy with Mighty Mouse.
That's true. But he was 1-1 with Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
Now, he lost to Henry Cejudo, but he stopped Henry Cejudo and then lost a close decision to him. No question, we should have seen that rubber match, and that would have been a huge fucking deal. So he went over to one. He did, for the first time in his career, get knocked out by Adriano Moraes, who, by the way, is a fucking beast.
He's incredible.
This dude is a really talented fucking fighter. They had their rematch, and Demetrious Johnson knocked him out with an insane fucking knee.
Overcommit.
Here you can play it right here. This is the highlight. Is this the knockout? Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. Oh, the big right hand and then knee knocks him out. Walk off knockout.
Can you go back and show that again? I want you guys to fucking watch the coolest thing before the knee is watch these little steps he takes where he could.
He's timing it.
He could have overswung.
Yep.
And he was fine to the point where he didn't need to do anything unless it was there.
Yep.
And then it was just perfectly there. Anyone else would have just started throwing. But it's just these little steps, and he's pacing him fucking perfectly.
Yes. Demetrious Johnson made 11 consecutive title defenses in the UFC. He broke Anderson Silva's record of 10 straight title defenses.
Can you find
on
that?
Another level. Now, to be completely fair, that division was much weaker then than it is now.
Sure.
But, you know, I watched him come back and beat this one guy who's ever stopped him, and I go, God damn it. I wish Mighty Mouse was in the UFC still, because that would make that division so much
exciting,
more fun.
Dude. Yeah,
God damn it.
There's something about, can you find that slam into the arm? I think if you just type in Demetrious Johnson armbar.
Yeah. It'll come up. It's one of the coolest finishes in the history of the UFC.
Ever.
In the history of MMA.
And, you know, it's, again, when we were talking about Colby and demand and capitalism, it's so bizarre that there is something in our primal brains. All right, here we go. This is, I believe, at the end of the round.
It's like a suplex, and he catches
hooks his arm
in the middle of it.
Starts the armbar before they hit the ground. Like, he's not even on the ground yet, and that is secure.
And this is something that looks like a fucking Bruce Lee kata that would make no sense, that actually worked. Like, you'd see someone practicing that and go, well, you can't actually do that.
Oh, you fucking idiot. You're going to get killed.
Yeah, like, no, who would even think this is the way you'd finish it?
Yeah, but so what I don't understand, and maybe it's just a biological programming thing, where the little guys have the best fights. And oftentimes the heavyweight fights, they're either spectacular, but oh boy, if it goes past the first round, it's like a gamble. And straight up, the reason, because Demetrious also, he was great on the mic. He was really entertaining. He had a cool backstory. He was always entertaining when they did the countdowns and stuff. And the reason there weren't buys is there were just a lot of people who were like, well, I want to watch fucking little guys. I want to watch big dudes throw hammers. And it's bizarre that division, which is arguably the most exciting, didn't blow up.
I think also a real criticism that a lot of people brought was that they thought that the littler guys didn't have, power in their strikes. But you scale.
So they're like, there's no knockout power,
right? But you scale it to comparison. If they're fighting each other, then someone's got to have power for that division.
Right. Yeah, well, that used to be a thing that was floated out a lot. That's been clearly proven wrong. There's knockouts all the time in those lighter divisions. I think there's something about the kind of, it's something about the gladiator aspect of like watching these kind of like monsters fight. I think there's also something to watching kind of the baddest motherfucker. And even if that guy's little, it's almost like the original UFC thing. It's like, well, there were no weight classes.
Yeah.
It's who would beat the other guy.
Now here's
and the bigger guys are the guy. Like when someone wins the heavyweight championship, when Francis Ngannou walks around, you go, that guy is the best fighter in the world.
I met fucking
forget pound for pound. No one. I don't think there's any human being in the world who could win a fist fight with this guy.
Dude, again, Volkanovski is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. Sparred him, hung out with him. He did my podcast. Didn't get nervous in the slightest. I met Francis for 5 minutes because his friend Eric Nixick, or his coach, is a good friend of mine, and I was like a shaky child.
Yeah.
Well,
like, in your defense, he blew sound in your face and said, "You are about to go to sleep for a lifetime." And there's, like, what?
It's a nerve-wracking experience, you guys.
Yes, I understand.
Blow sand in your face, but yeah. So there definitely is that. Now, maybe this is me projecting as well, because I'm small. But do you think there could be anything to? You know when you get like first dates at a comedy show and sometimes the guys, not if they're coming to see you, but let's say it's just a random club New York show.
Yes.
Sometimes the guy will be like kind of like arms crossed if like the chick's laughing. Do you think there might also be part of it where for all the guys who are primarily, UFC's demographics, mainly dudes, watching the little guys, if you watch an Ngannou fight, there's no part of you that goes, I could fuck that guy up. You're just like, he'll kill me. But do you think just like every non-comedian guy thinks they're funny and, I should fucking try stand-up one day, when they're watching these little guys fight, maybe there's part that's like, oh, fuck those little guys or whatever.
I'd fuck that guy up.
Yeah, or they don't want to see, I don't know.
Yeah, there might be something to that. I remember watching UFC back in the day when I first became a fan, watching with some of my fucking friends. I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and I remember watching with some of my friends who were kind of like hood dudes watching it, and we watched one fight, and like they'd be like, yo son, I'd fucking throw him off me like this if I was there, and you're like, oh yeah, I don't think we should watch this together anymore. Like you think like whatever it was. It's like you think you'd throw Hoist Gracie off.
Sure.
He goes, yo son, just fucking drive him into this shit. And you're
you
like,
just gotta drive him into that shit. Yeah.
That actually
just
no.
Stand
that
up.
Wouldn't
Why is he
that wouldn't
standing
fucking
up?
And so there is something I'm sure that a lot of like regular fucking Joe Sixpacks would be like, I'd whatever, dude. I'd fucking do this. Maybe that's something to it. I don't know.
And those are the guys.
It's also a different world. Like even from when Mighty Mouse was in the UFC to now, the sport's gotten way fucking bigger. So maybe it would be different now. Also, I think he needed the Henry Cejudo trilogy fight. Yeah. Like he needed someone. Sometimes there's just like you need a storyline. Like Demetrious Johnson was fucking up these guys, but he
People
cleared
didn't know
out
a
the
lot
division.
Of those guys. They didn't know Ray Borg.
He cleared out the division so much that it was like, these are just random people now. And he was so head and shoulders above them that he needed the guy who was his challenger, and then he was going to rise above. They were talking about him moving up, and if you remember, he didn't want to move up weight classes, that he kind of needed something that was going to be bigger. He needed to move up and fight Dominic Cruz or whoever the fuck was the champion at that point. He needed something like...
No, and that's where... You're totally right, because I'm like, he had personality, but he didn't have a storyline. Yeah. You can have personality, but if there's no adversary, if there's no Chael Anderson, right? Like Anderson didn't have a personality. I mean, maybe that also, like shit like that was good for Anderson too, where it's, that Damian Maia fight was fucking bad. He had another really bad one.
Lates.
Yeah,
The Thiago Lates fight.
He was
that
just
really
being
bad.
kind of throwing people, and then that jail one, suddenly you're like, oh.
No, now we fucking care, you know? And so there's something to that. There's something to that element where you need some type of a storyline that's not just you know, like being like, okay, you're head and shoulders above everybody, but what about when you get fucking pushed in? What? And so that really, he left at a bad time.
Yeah.
It's just,
And
it's just a shame.
Yo! Oh my God!